Hi, everybody. I'm intuitive medium Sandy Duncan, sitting with my friends from Rescue Mediums, Michael Lamport, Edna Dargie, Jackie Dennison, and Alison Wynne-Ryder. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sandy.
So today we're talking all things Stouffville, and on veryparanormal.com. That is season 4, episode 13. So please go to veryparanormal.com and check out this episode. And it's always good to rewatch, because every time I rewatch, I learn something else. So it's there for your enjoyment. So let's get right into it. I've got some questions for you. Jackie and Alison, through the episode, which is involving homeowners, a husband and wife, their little girl, and their family friend, they were disturbed by another family of spirits. But in the episode, Jackie, you connect with the energy of a little baby in spirit. And I found it so fascinating when you turn to Alison and say, but the baby won't need help crossing over because babies don't. And I was hoping you two could help us understand that a little bit better.
They're sort of pure souls, aren't they, Alison? You know, a baby's not born into this world with any hatred or any malice or any preconceived thoughts. I think I got the image of a what we call a blue baby. So it was, I could see that the baby was not alive anymore. I didn't know if the baby had been born sleeping or had, you know, died shortly after birth. I wasn't quite sure at the time.
I can see a dead baby.
Oh, God.
It's blue, you know, like a blue baby.
Like it's had no oxygen. Maybe a stillborn, do you mean, or?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, it won't be the baby that needs help, because, you know, little ones like that already go over, don't they? But who does the baby belong to?
And I've certainly found, I'm sure you have, Alison, as well, that when you are connecting with babies who have gone over to spirit, that they will either come back to you as you know, growing up in spirit. So you may appear as a toddler or even as you know, a teenager, depending on how many years they've been there. It depends what age they want to be.
Well, when you say pure souls, it's exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've also had where when I'm doing a reading for a client and, like, say one of their parents is there in spirit, they're holding a baby, and I know that it's a child that, or even with a small child, but I'll just know that it passed over as a baby. And then obviously, you know, we were connecting with the little girl as well, weren't we? And their parents.
Yeah.
Whole family.
Alison, in this episode, you were overshadowed by that little girl.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah.
As the child's spirit returns.
I can't breathe properly.
Can't breathe.
My chest really constricted. Oh God. Yeah.
Alison, are you all right?
Oh my God.
Alison.
Oh my God.
Alison, sit down. Sit down.
Michael and Edna, what was that like for the crew? Or do you recall to watch Jackie have to sit Alison down? Alison was being overshadowed. What did that feel? I know as a viewer, my heart went out to you, both in that moment and the spirit. But what did it feel like if you were actually there?
You probably can't hear me very well because we have spirits in our machine and my voice is sad. But we've had that situation happen a couple of times, and it is a bit scary for the crew and us observers because you're not quite sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it specifically, this particular one, but as Michael said, in those moments, it is very traumatic. It is, you know, the thought that there is a blue baby, a baby that's in distress.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. And then on the other part of my brain, though, the logical part, I'm thinking, oh, have I run into anything in my research that connects with this?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of divided here.
Yeah, because I think, Edna, with the research with that one, didn't you find out that there was a little girl who had died of, she'd got, was it like she had a chest problem? Was it pneumonia or something like that? I can't remember.
There were actually, there were 3 girls they had that did die.
Oh.
The eldest was Ada, and she died in the 7th of August in 1892. She was 6 years old.
Oh.
Lung inflammation.
Yes.
But at there was also a Lavina who had died 4 years earlier of pneumonia at 10 weeks and 3 days.
Oh.
And a third one, Celia, who died, just 2 months. She was born 2 weeks after Ada, the 6-year-old, had died.
Oh my gosh.
She started to wring her hands like this, and she was very anxious about something. And she said the children didn't survive. One of her children didn't survive.
Oh God.
We also had the image of the blue baby. I can see a dead baby.
Oh God.
It's blue, you know, like a blue baby. This little girl comes running from nowhere. Gorgeous little mite and spirit. Alison was very overcome outside.
Started feeling that my chest was really tight and I was really, really, really wheezy. I can't breathe properly.
Can't breathe.
Oh my God.
Alison, sit down, sit down.
Is that on the way back from the barn before the bonfire?
Yes.
I feel the exact same thing. It's like a panic attack and someone sitting on your chest.
Yes.
And she was saying that, you know, her children died, you know, one was the baby, and then they'd lost a daughter as well.
Decades before their own deaths, Martha and Thomas suffered the loss of 2 daughters. Ada, aged 6, died of inflammation of the lungs. Celia, only 14 days old, passed of whooping cough.
You know what's very interesting is that the girl, the one that died at 10 weeks of pneumonia, Lavinia, it's interesting that, Jackie, you had actually come up with that name in an original premonition.
Oh,
and
did I?
That's unusual name.
It is.
You wonder, like, we get John and Sarah and that, and someone could say, oh, yeah, right, that's, of course, there could be a John there, or an Anne, or Mary, or whatever, but that was a very unusual name.
Yeah.
And in this family tree, unfortunately, this copy's very poor. It's just a photocopy that I have, but it's the family tree of the man that was rescued, Thomas Mantle. And on it, there are 17 names here that I always circle them on the family tree. I don't know if you can see anything there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those are the names that you've given in premonitions or in the walk around or during the rescue beforehand.
Wow.
So you really connected with a lot of the members of the family here.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to know we're listening to our spirit guides, right, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Which we do, of course.
This house too, when you walked in at the beginning, we were introduced to all the birds that the homeowners.
The birds, yeah.
Did the birds add any sort of interesting energy to the spirit activity or to the house?
Birds. But I could see lots of birds. I don't know whether it was an aviary or where we're going to. There's lots of birds in general.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Jackie.
Jackie, I'm Lynn. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I'm Alison. Nice to meet you finally.
Oh, Alison, look at the birds. My goodness.
Did it make it stronger or?
Yeah.
I would say no, not stronger, but I'm sure. I mean, I know that animals, I don't know as much about, you know, people that keep birds, you know, parrots and stuff. But animals do, and I'm sure birds do sense that there's something not right in a home, you know, so I'm sure they were picking up on the energy. We'd have to ask the homeowners, wouldn't we? Because that would be really interesting to know. But they, you know, they don't make it worse. So the animals or birds or whatever, I wouldn't say make energy worse, but they will pick up on that. They will sense it.
Yeah.
So
I think birds are messengers, aren't they? You know, because spirit can influence the birds. So I think that was a huge clue, because you had that on your premonitions, Alison, didn't you? Birds. And then as we walked in, there they are. Well, I think you actually said, and it could be an aviary, and of course, when we got there, they were there as you walked in. But I think that was a huge clue to us, because we found a feather, didn't we, outside?
The extensive property.
It is. Oh,
it's a black feather. That usually means when they send me white feathers,
we know what that is.
That is support. If it's black feathers, it's action.
Okay, so something definitely needs doing then straight away here.
Action.
Do you know what? It's definitely something.
So I took that as a really powerful sign that spirit had influenced the birds in that way in the garden to say, you know, something needs to be done here.
You know, also the when we first meet any homeowner in any rescue medium episode, we're immediately filled with sort of the dread that they're feeling from being disturbed by spirits. Michael's brilliant job with the music, you know, it vibes at a certain thing where I can feel me going, oh, what's coming? And they're frightened. They've seen things, they've heard things. But when you two show up, do you think the spirits go on their better behavior, or is it just the fact that you're not afraid?
No, they don't go on better behavior when we walk, and it's probably more powerful and strong, I would say. They are not on the best behavior with us at all. Wouldn't expect them to be, would you, Jackie?
No, I think sometimes, because some of them actually know we're going to be there. They know in advance that we're going, so they might try and do a disappearing act, you know. So we've had that happen, haven't we, where they all of a sudden it's like, where are they? You know they're watching, you know they're there, you can sense that they're there, but they are not going to communicate with you. It's like, no, we're going on strike, we're not going to talk to you today. So we've had that happen. But yeah, Alison's right. It will usually, because the spirit is either wants help, knows we're coming and wants that help, or doesn't realize that they need help. And because our energy adds to their energy, of course, we've got our spirit team with us as well, which will add to it, and they know. And so it can make things a lot worse, you know, which is why we have like the equipment that drains as well. So we've had that, Michael, haven't we, where all the equipment has drained.
Several times.
That's a lot.
It's funny you say drain, because I know you mean a different kind of drain, but in this episode they said that they heard growling from the drains.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had that. You had noises from a drain or something, didn't you?
I did in the premonitions.
And you could hear growling. I mean, that must have been so frightening, mustn't it?
General, this is going to sound really weird, but sounds from a pipe or a drain, that these are sounds that you can't explain.
Right.
I swear to God, I heard growling coming out of the sink. And I started thinking, am I hearing things? And then I heard growling in the sink again. I went, okay, I'm out of here.
Do you know what? That's what blows me away when spirit guides give you the premonitions, because it sounds really odd. It just goes to show that they're not ours for us to keep, or for us to say, no, I'm not going to include that because it sounds ridiculous. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to, you know, you've been given it for a reason. And in that episode it proved to be, that's exactly one of the things that the homeowner had experienced. I think it was Lynn, isn't it, had experienced.
And in the research department, when you clue in that you've got a whole family that you're going to research, what does that do to the dynamic? Because your timing is the same, right? Whether you're researching one spirit or 5.
Right. Do you mean when the rescue happens, we realize it's a family that's come forward?
Right, because
it's fine if it's the same family, because I've already researched the family.
Okay, yeah.
So that just confirms, when I get the same names coming up in the same family and the same conditions, then that's actually easier. That's great. That's great.
Some relief.
But what I do in anticipation ahead of time, before the rescue and days before, when I know where I'm going, I search the land in case it's connected with the land. And I go to the land registry, and I've got all of these pages. Oh my gosh. Going back to 1898, right back to Crown, and up to present day of the property. And in this case, there's 13 pages here that I go through, and I follow it right through to the actual house. And then I make a summary of who was actually there on the land.
Oh.
And often I'll also go to directories to find out who lived there, because even though they may have owned the land, it doesn't necessarily mean they even lived there.
Hmm.
And with these, then I'll go through when I get the names from premonitions, and I'll start circling names. And oh, well, that could be a family that's someone in that family needs rescuing. And then I'll start, and here's an example of a really my draft family tree of one of these families that's on the land registry. And I go through and I circle all the names on it. And so I'll have a whole pile of these family trees that I've created. And then, of course, with the circled names, well, maybe there's a connection, and I won't know until the actual rescue usually.
Right.
So it's quite a process of trying to track it down. And so I've got zillions of family trees around that are just sitting here.
Alison, didn't you have the name of Thomas on your premonitions, and falling, somebody who fell?
Oh yes, falling from
a
great height, I think it was.
Yeah.
He had, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Falling from a great height. Thomas?
I had something to do with this. When we went into the barn, because we felt as though we were connected more with the outside, didn't we, at first?
Yeah.
And when we went into the barn, I felt really sort of dizzy and, disorientated. And then I think my right foot or my right leg started hurting, and my right foot was gnarled. Yeah.
Something wrong with my toes, Alison. On my right foot. Feel as though they're all like that, like gnarled up. That's male. That's not female. And now I'm feeling very, very dizzy. Wobbly, in fact.
He had an accident, didn't he, Edna?
Yeah, he fell 25 feet in the barn. And they, he had a compound fracture of the right leg below the knee, the bone between the two breaks being smashed. His left arm also was broken, and he suffered some internal injuries. And at the point of this newspaper article, they didn't know at that point whether amputation of the leg would be necessary.
Oh.
But what's interesting is that he did survive, and it was 40 years later that he actually passed away at the age of 86.
Wow.
But that was such a traumatic event in his life. I guess it must have changed his life.
Thomas Mantle, the husband in spirit, spoke to the homeowner's little daughter, Melody. And also in the Over the Rainbow episode, spirit was connecting with the little girl.
Yeah.
What's the connection between them choosing a younger person to connect with?
She reminded him of his daughter,
That's right,
his
yeah.
young daughter.
Yeah.
And that's why, and she actually said, I've had to write this down so I didn't remember it. Melody said to her parents, this is one of the reasons, I think, Michael, wasn't it, that they brought us in, well, with everything else going on. This is not our house, it's the man's house.
Boisterous, hyperactive child.
That usually indicates that we'll be working with children.
Melody said that there was a man standing with her. We all kind of went, pardon?
And I knew that she wasn't just creating this because of the specifics.
She says, this is not our house. It's the man's house. We live here, but this is not our house.
No.
That we both kept feeling really cold. And
yes.
I think it started outside, and then I had this vision of a lady huddled around like a pipe stove. I could see like an old-fashioned pipe stove, and she was huddled around it, and I think she said something like, it's the coldest winter, or the coldest winter ever, or something like that. And she was really, really cold. And then when we went into the house and we were doing our little thing all the way around in the house, we came across the room, and there was a pipe stove.
It was there.
It was
what you'd see.
God, that's it. That's it.
The stove's like that. That's what I could see. It's like a pipe stove. And she was huddled around it.
It's here, isn't it?
Yeah. Didn't she die of the cold, Edna?
She did, didn't she?
Yes.
Martha Mantle, Thomas's wife, died in December of 1922. Her cause of death was determined to be exposure to extreme cold.
I love the cheers on the show. You did it on the swing in the family's yard. And
Yes. Yeah.
You said you didn't know she was a swinger. So we learned something in every episode.
Swing, I like that. Oh, Jackie, I didn't know you were a swinger.
Well, listen, there's a lot you don't know about me.
I bet there is. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Oh, I forgot that.
Well, because you can't hear me, shall we have a cheers?
Oh, we can do, yes.
We can have a cheers. We heard you then, you see.
We're always down to a cheers. Okay, so here we are. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.
If you enjoyed watching Behind the Scenes, please like, share and subscribe to veryparanormal.com, the portal for everything paranormal, where you can watch every episode of Behind the Scenes and every episode of Rescue Mediums, plus so much more. And it's absolutely free. You can't get much better than that. Cheers.